that, if we could get you excerpts from a conversation that my colleague Parikshit Luthara had with Sigrid Kaag, who is the Finance Minister of Netherlands, who spoke about the Delhi leaders' declaration. Listen in to what was said.
Well, I was hoping there would be consensus, and everyone, also the invited countries such as the Netherlands, have been working to support, obviously, the process. It was inconceivable for me there would not be consensus in the end, because there would be a sign of inability by the international community, the G20, to come together, to rally around the important issues.
When it comes to the Ukraine-Russia war, if we compare it to the Bali Declaration, certain important phrases such as deploring Russia's war against Ukraine, condemning the war in the strongest possible terms, asking Russia to get out of Ukraine's territory, those words were removed. Was there a sense of dissatisfaction in the EU among Western nations with that?
Well, I think it's very clear to say that obviously we didn't change position. There's sufficient language in the declaration to point to the essentials. And I think the majority of countries have made it very clear that they stick in terms of the intent, language and their policy stance on what was agreed at Bali, but what we also express in the meeting and outside of the meeting. That doesn't change. Same as you will see probably in the margins or at UNGA. A majority of countries are very clear on in their condemnations and their reiteration of the importance of the restoration of the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Right. Were Russia and China isolated in the room? Because we were hearing that they've gone back on the Bali Declaration, they were seeking a dilution, but do you feel that they were isolated at the end of the day?
Well, I think the G20 obviously also spoke on many other issues, but certainly once you remove yourself from the international community by an extreme act of aggression, an illegal invasion of another country, a violation of the territorial integrity, that is de facto isolation.
What do you feel about some of the other measures that the G20 took, especially on sustainable finance, accelerating SDG goals? We've fallen badly off track on SDGs and our sustainability agenda for 2030. Do you think this G20 somehow puts in place the building blocks?
I think it's an important step in a longer process, of course. We've got the goals of 2030, the declaration, the SDGs need to be achieved. There is a significant reversal of gains. At the same time, this declaration again points to the importance of reform of the multilateral development banks. It is clear on the additionality of climate financing required, as well as the declaration around the importance of global public goods. So there are a number of new aspects that we need to continue to work on in the margins of the IMF and World Bank meetings, at the General Assembly. These are all important processes, so I believe this declaration again leads the way in the articulation and the implementation. Words need to be followed by action.
If I were to ask you about one hit from the G20 and one big miss, according to you?
No, I don't look at declarations in that way. I think there's clearly sensitivity around the absence of language around the phasing out of fossil fuels. It's an important one. One needs to keep pushing for that. We need to be clear. And one big hit, I would say, in the underscoring of the importance of additional climate financing and reform of the international financial architecture.
So you feel that phasing out of fossil fuels could have got a stronger wording in the declaration?
No, I'm not going to reiterate all our national positions or what's been gained. I think it's important that we have a consensus document with clarity and a way forward.
The Dutch finance minister there speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, hailing the climate financing moves as one of the biggest hits of India's G20 presidency. Karan